Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Shanna, and today is day 18 on our Advent calendar. I don't know if you're like me, but I have trouble finding the day. I kind of have to stare at them for a while before I find the day. So we're going to get 18 opened up, and it looks like we've got kind of a wavy looking die here. And so we're just going to get it pulled out of here, and we're going to get to working with it. So I've got my big fuzzy warm jammies on. Most of our snow is starting to melt. We've went from those extremely cold below zero temperatures, and now we're actually going to warm up into the 50s. So Indiana is one of those states that you can go from negative 15 to 57 in a day. So let's get back to the die. So it looks like it'll cut strips out, and I took every 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 little scrap that I had, and I just die cut out a whole bunch of things. I've got some colors that'll coordinate. We've got these that I'm going to push off to the side. I'm saving for later. And then I've got some of the Spellbinders pinks here that we're going to use for our cards. And I have used some green mint tape on the back of them when I remove them from the dies just to hold them together in order. But we're going to do some mixing and matching here. So I'm just going to pull off some pieces and insert some pieces, and we're just going to create some colorful little waves. And this honestly is like a corner piece. You could use it to do the corners of your card and kind of frame them out or whatever. I'm going to do something a little different with it. We're going to use it as a corner piece on a panel. And so I'm just going to mix and match these and just kind of lift the different colors, and I've kind of got in my head the way that I can make the pattern work. So I'm going dark, medium, light, and then medium, dark. So we've just got one light there in the center. And it actually, I think you could do it in greens and add a little stem to it and actually make it look like a Christmas tree. You could do that. The other thing I thought of is if you had a square, you could actually make this be the roof of a house. Just lots of different ways of looking at this. You could use the individual strips just to create some waves on a card. I think there are just lots of options that you could do here. You could, make this kind of a cupcake topper or something like that. So just encourage you to think about it kind of outside of the box and how you might use it. I'm going to use it kind of in the box, but there are different ways that you could do it. So I'm just piecing these other ones in a similar, the pattern is different just because of how I have to mix them, but we're going to have kind of an interesting pattern for this one as well. And I'm just going to lay them in there. I'm not going to use all of these, but I'm just putting them together so that my pieces don't get bent and tore up. I'm going to keep the tape on them, and I'm going to put them in that dish that I've been collecting parts from the Advent calendar so that we can reuse in other cards perhaps. Not sure if we will or not, but I want to have them available. So I've got 3 different little patterns going on here. And you can see that we, are just using the different colors there. And I'm just lining them up. The tape just kind of helps you keep everything together. So there we go. We're not going to work with kind of the cinnamon and the butter and the coral color over there. We're just going to work with these pinks. But I've got lots that I can work with, and we're just going to use one of these to create the card, another one to do our envelope, and then we'll have some spares for any other projects we decide to do. So I'm going to use this one here. And I've got a little bit of tape hanging off the edges, and I'm just going to trim it off because I'm leaving that tape on the back. I'm not going to individually glue every one of those pieces down to my card. Now this one was upside down, and I realized it when I trimmed, so I just flipped it over, and I'm going to get it pressed on there. There we go. And the tape is just going to help me in the gluing process. I won't have to line them all up individually. Now I had this white panel. I think on another video I mentioned I had a couple of these white panels, and it was already die cut out, and so I'm going to use it. I'm actually going to bring in the rest of the dies that go with that panel. I'm straightening this one up. It was a little off, so I lifted it and just pushed it in. But the panels are from the Bow and Bell Scalloped Stitch Frames from Spellbinders. I use it a lot. It is a favorite. And I will try to link it in the description box below. But we're just going to use this, like I said, like kind of a corner piece. And we're going to get it laid down on this panel that was laying in my craft room. I love using scraps, and I love using things that are laying down. Now I'm showing you that I just did the corners so that I can tuck. I'm going to tuck some flowers in, but I want to show you, you could actually use this as a gift card holder as well. So I'm just trying to think of different ways to share with you on how you could use this. So I just brought that little card in to poke in there and show you. So I have taken our florals from earlier in the set, and I have used some of the scrap pieces from the colors that I've used to create our little wavy corner piece. And I brought in a real light, pretty green for the leaves. And I'm just going to tuck these in there like this. So we'll pull them out, we'll get a little glue, and we'll get them laid down on there. And I'm not going to worry about gluing the stems. And because I didn't, I just glued along the edges of that, you'll see my stem kind of poke through the layers, and it'll happen a couple of times, but it's not going to matter. It'll be fine for the card. Just wiping up some glue. And I started to do this one. I'm like, no, I don't want the two dark colored ones laying next to each other. And I'll realize it. I'm like, I wanted to go dark, light, dark, just to have some variation. And we'll just glue it up and get it tucked in as well. I'm watching a video and I'm skipping a commercial. That's why I went off screen there for a minute. A lot of times when I'm crafting, I'm listening to music or I'm watching another YouTuber, and that's what I was doing this morning. I was watching another YouTuber. So we'll get some glue on there. I didn't do the top because I know it's going to overhang this, and we'll get some glue on there later when we add our other panels. So this is just going to kind of hang off this panel that I've got here. I think it looks really pretty. And I like just kind of reusing the same colors. I've got a piece of vellum that I have used the next step up die. And I'm just going to layer this on there. And we are just going to keep building using all of the different nested dies in this set. And I'll just bring them in one by one and lay them down. Now, I'm going to use this color here. And I thought it was the color on that flower there, but it's actually a different color. But it'll all work out just fine. It's actually a little darker than the color that I'm using. Just giving it a press. And then we're going to bring in a white panel because I like to have white, I think, kind of cleans things up a little bit when you've got a lot going on. So this is the scalloped panel of this stitched bow and stitched scalloped set. It actually has some bells and bows that go with it, but we're not going to use those today. And I'm going to get it laid down on here. And then I'm going to bring in that other panel that I die cut out one of the pieces, and I took one of my embossing folders and I embossed this panel. This embossing folder is called Dimpled, and it is from Spellbinders as well. It is a 3D embossing folder, and I just embossed that remaining frame there, and I'm going to lay it down on there, and it's going to add some nice texture, and I think it looks really pretty. Very delicate looking card. So I'm just going to try and get it lined up. I'm kind of holding it and making sure I got it lined up there. And then we'll just bring in our white card base. We'll give it a press, and then we'll get all of our panels laid down on there. I'm going to give it a press because I saw that corner was sticking up. Then we'll just turn it over, and we'll get some glue on there and just get it laid down on our card base, and we've got a really pretty card using a couple of elements from our card base, or our card kit. Now, I don't show it on here, but I am going to bring in some of those sequins from the previous day, and we'll add them on there. You'll be able to see it in the picture at the end. It was an afterthought. I was like, oh, I should have brought in those sequins. So I will do that. And there we go. So that'll pretty much take care of our card. I'm going to show you these two. I'm going to use one of them for, our packaging, and then I'm going to save the other four for some other cards that we might make as we open up some more of our Advent calendar. So there's our card. So I did go ahead and lay this down on our envelope, and the die will fit in the coin envelope if you don't put the plastic packaging on it. And I'm not worried about losing any pieces, so I'm just going to slide it in there. I did go ahead and use some of the scraps from this to cut out the numbers because I was tired of not having numbers to match my design. So I finally broke down and brought the number set back out, and I'm going to die cut some numbers out. Probably should have done that all along, and I'll remember that for future, but I've just given up and thought I'm not using red and green on this pretty pink design. So I decided to bring two of the colors in, and I am trying to decide which way this 8 lays, and I don't know if it matters, but I turned it around and we're going to get it laid down, and it very well may be upside down, but I don't think it matters. So there's our envelope, and here's a picture of our card with our sequins. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care.